Hi, boys and girls. We're going to talk a little more about our new trip that we're taking with our suitcase and our pre-K class. If you watched my first video on our suitcase, you found out that we are traveling to the coldest, windiest, harshest place on Earth, all the way down to the South Pole. And we found it on our map here at the bottom of the Earth, the South Pole. And then I found a globe that I have in my house. This was my grandfather's globe, and he gave it to me. And I found on the bottom of our globe, Antarctica. So this is the Earth. The Earth is round with oceans and waters and lands and continents. And Antarctica is the continent at the bottom of the Earth. Antarctica, the South Pole is there. So that's where we're going to be traveling to for our first trip in January. And in our last video, we found out that one of the few animals, they don't have a lot of animals or life there. One of the few animals that does live there is the penguin. And we read a little bit about Antarctica and a little bit about the penguins there. And now I have a book that's all about the penguins. So this is called Penguins by Kathleen Weidner. Kathleen Weidner. And let's open it up and see what it's going to tell us. Penguins. Do you think that's a baby penguin or an adult penguin? Looks like a baby to me. Let's see. Penguins waddle across the ice and snow on their short legs. Waddle, waddle, waddle. I hear a lot about penguins waddling. So that's what this book is telling us. They do waddle right across the ice and the snow on their short legs. They flop on their bellies and they slide. They love to go sledding right on their bellies. Perfect. They gather on shore on big chunks of ice, and then they jump into the ocean. You can see them. They're all waiting to take turns. There goes the first one. Penguins are birds, but you will never see them flying in the air. Penguins have strong, flat wings. They use their wings to swim through the sea. So this is a close-up of an emperor penguin's wings. Right here, they're strong and flat. Stiff tails and big webbed feet help them to steer. So their tail and their feet will help them to steer. They have webbed feet. What does that mean? We'll talk about that in a minute. There are many different types of penguins. The largest is the emperor penguin. Emperors can grow as tall as a 6-year-old child. Some of you will be 6 on your next birthday. Some of you will be 6 really soon. 6 years old, that's how tall a penguin can be? Whoa, and we found out in our last video, they could be about 3 feet tall. Maybe some of you are almost there now. And then the smallest penguin is called the fairy, or the little blue penguin, the fairy penguin. Little blues stand just a little bit higher than your knee, a fairy penguin. So look down at your knee, and that's only as tall as a little fairy penguin is. They're really little. Penguins live only in the southern half of the world. Some types live far south in the frozen land of Antarctica. And you can see the globe just like I was showing you with my real globe. And at the bottom is Antarctica. Antarctica. All penguins live in places where the ocean water stays cold all year long. This is a big ice shelf in Antarctica, or an iceberg. And these penguins are all taking turns jumping off. When we go back to our classroom, look for something like this in our classroom. Miss Tiffany has been working on it when you come back to school. And then you will get to finish what Miss Tiffany's been working on. So Miss Tiffany has done her part. And then when you come back to school, you're going to get to add your part to our bulletin board for Antarctica. Penguins have a thick coat of small, shiny feathers. These feathers seal out the cold water and keep the birds warm and dry. For extra warmth, penguins have a layer of fat called blubber right under their skin. God gave them a layer of fat called blubber. It's right under their skin. So remember that word, blubber. That might be a new word for some of us. Penguins dive underwater to hunt for fish or for tiny creatures called krill. That's going to be a question. What do penguins eat? They eat fish or tiny creatures called krill. Penguins leap out of the water to breathe. So he goes in to look for the food. He's jumping in to look for the food. And now he needs to come back up to catch his breath and breathe. They shoot right out of the water, I've heard them say, just like a rocket, right up and out. Although penguins spend most of their lives in the seawater, all penguins come onto land or ice to lay their eggs. An area where many penguins lay their eggs is called a rookery. A rookery, an area where there are many, many penguins. A rookery, kind of like a group. But this is a group of penguins, so you call it a rookery. Some types of penguins build nests of stones and pebbles on the ground. We learned about that in our other video, that some of them will build nests. Some of them will build nests out of stones and pebbles on the ground. Yes, if you watch the other video, you'll know. Is it an emperor penguin? Is it an Adelie penguin? Which penguin lays their eggs in a nest? Some penguins dig holes in the ground for their nest. Oh, look at these guys. They dig a hole in the ground for their nest. You can see the hole right there that they're in. Others, like the big emperors, make no nest at all. We learned about that. The emperors, no nest. Well, what do they do with their eggs? Emperors gather together on the ice. After the mother penguin lay their eggs, they are tired and they are hungry, those mommies are. They must go back to the sea to eat and find food. The father penguins stay behind. Each one will hold its egg carefully on its feet. So the father is going to hold the egg on their feet. Oh, and you can see that right under his pouch right here, there's a bulge, like a big bump, and it's the egg, The father penguins huddle close together to stay warm. They stay together even through all the terrible snowstorms and windstorms. They must keep the eggs warm for many, many weeks, so the fathers will stay together and try to stay warm. The more of them that get together and stay together, the more of their heat that they can share from each other. And they will keep each other warm and keep those eggs warm. When the eggs finally hatch, the fathers keep the chicks tucked up against their snug brood patches. A snug brood patch. What is a brood patch? Well, I think it's telling us what it is. The fathers keep the chicks tucked up against their snug brood patch. So that's that extra flap of warm skin and feathers that the daddies have to keep their eggs warm. And then when the eggs hatch, the baby penguins will stay right up against that extra skin and feathers to stay extra warm with daddy. The mothers soon return from the ocean. Their bellies are full of krill. What do penguins eat? Krill. The mommies have been out fishing. They've caught some krill and their bellies are full. They will pass the krill up from their bellies to feed their new babies. Interesting way to eat. In a few weeks, the chicks have grown a warm coat of downy feathers. So their first warm feathers have come out. Downy feathers. Very warm. Penguin parents take turns feeding their fluffy chicks and protecting them. When a chick's parents are both away, it can huddle with the other chicks. 1 or 2 adults will stay nearby to babysit. So even penguins have babysitters. So there's a mommy and daddy just loving their baby chick and taking care of them. But sometimes if they both have to go away to get food for the family, then the chicks will all stay together. They know to stay safe and together. They'll huddle up and stay warm. And then it says that there will be a nearby mommy or daddy. So like an aunt or an uncle, there'll be a babysitter that will stay on shore with these babies and make sure that they're safe. They take good care of each other. After a few months, the large youngsters begin to lose their downy feathers. They lose those first downy feathers. You can tell that they're starting to come off, kind of like shedding. You can start to see more of their skin now. The feathers are leaving them. When they're waterproof, adult feathers have grown in, so they get new feathers that are waterproof. Waterproof. What does that mean? Think about it. When they're waterproof, adult feathers have grown in. They will be able to take their first swim. They will catch their first fish and krill for themselves. They're going to jump off one of those icebergs right into the water. The new penguins are ready for their lifetime home at the sea, in the sea. That's where they love to be. So here are some of those words that might have been new for us. Let's see if we know what they mean. Antarctica. Where is Antarctica? What is Antarctica? Well, it is the large area of land around the south pole of the earth. So it's at the bottom of the earth around the south pole. Blubber. What did blubber mean? Penguins have a lot of this to keep them warm. A layer of fat under the skin of many types of sea animals. Yes, not just penguins that have it. Brood patches. Oh, we talked about this. Brood patches. The daddies use these to keep the egg warm and the babies after they hatch warm. A brood patch. Folds of bare skin on the penguins' bellies. Penguins use their brood patches to keep their eggs warm until the chicks hatch. Downy. Downy. What does downy mean? It was a type of feather. It was the first feathers that the chicks get. Downy. Soft and fluffy feathers for the baby chicks. Krill. Krill is tiny shrimp-like sea animals that gather and swim in huge groups. God put lots and lots of krill in the oceans around Antarctica in the waters so that the penguins will have food to eat. Food doesn't really grow on the land very much at all. It's so cold and frozen. So the water is full of krill for the penguins to eat. Rookery. What does rookery mean? It's a group of children, a group of teachers. It's a group of penguins, a big group of penguins, a place where a group of penguin birds come to nest and lay their eggs. A group. Waterproof. Oh, remember after their downy feathers fall off and out, they get new feathers that are waterproof. And after they get those waterproof feathers, they get to jump into that cold water and they stay dry and they stay warm. Waterproof means the water does not soak through them. The water does not soak through them and get them cold. It's like the water just kind of rolls right off. Webbed feet. Penguins have webbed feet. Any type of feet with thin, flat folds of skin between the toes. So if you look at your toes or your fingers, We do not have skin in here between them. They're not connected with skin in here. But web means a connection of skin between the fingers or the toes. So the penguin's feet have skin in here, and that helps them to steer and get through the water. And that is the end. Our penguins. And this penguin on the front of this book is an emperor penguin. So I'm going to look around and see if I can find an emperor penguin that I might be able to pull out of my suitcase for next time. So keep coming back for my videos, and I'll see you again. Bye-bye.